Hey ladies, welcome to the Calm Edge podcast. I'm your host, Brooke. Does it feel like your brain is on overdrive? Maybe you're struggling with spiraling thoughts and feeling like you can't relax. Well, hey, I have a solution for you. I'm a hypnotherapist and I help women just like you every single day reprogram their minds to master overthinking and eliminate self-doubt so you can feel calm, confident, and elevated. Let's dive in. It feels so good to be here again. After taking a year off to step fully into motherhood, I'm relaunching the podcast with a very special episode. To kick things off, I've invited one of my best friends and mentors, Brooke Harris, the powerhouse founder of Good Milk Co. turned transformation coach, oracle, and host of the Expanders Club podcast. She's stepping in today as my guest host to interview me as we dive into all of the things, what this past year has looked like for me as a new mom, the unexpected challenges and lessons, and how my own tools have helped me move through postpartum health struggles with more resilience and calm. So let's get into it. I'll hand it over to Brooke, and together we'll take you behind the scenes.
Yes, I am so excited to dig in and so honored to be here to have this conversation with you.
Honestly, I mean, there's no better person to really kind of deep dive into this.
Your transformation has been really fun to see and witness. We've known each other for a long time and through many different stages. And I think this is your most beautiful yet. And we just happen to be recording this on a very special day. Our little buddy turns 1 today.
Yeah, I have a 1-year-old. It's so weird.
And for me, hitting the 1-year mark, I realized it's not just your birthday, little one. It is my birthday.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how are you feeling about that?
It's funny. Everyone kept saying, how are you feeling about Wes turning 1? And I'm like, oh, it's great. But then I was in yoga. I made it to a yoga class last night and found my calm in the midst of the storm. And I felt it was really emotional, which surprised me. It was a moment with myself where I realized it's not even so much about him and him growing, but there's a lot that comes up around, okay, now I'm 1 year postpartum. Can I say I'm postpartum anymore? Is my body the way I thought it was going to be? Am I where I thought I was going to be? It's kind of this like weird benchmark. And I know, and you know, that postpartum could take years for your hormones to rebalance, especially because I'm still breastfeeding. But there is kind of this like moment of, oh, I need to get my shit together. I need to get back on the podcast, right? I need to do all those creative things I've been wanting to do that have just been sitting on a shelf. But I think what I've also found this year is such deep, 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 deep self-compassion for myself because of my journey and the health struggles that I've gone through this year. There's no other way to go through it but to surrender and say, this is happening. And it's not gonna be a quick recovery.
Yes, I love that recognition. How has your relationship to yourself changed?
So it's such a big question. And it ebbs and flows. It's not perfect. I'm just so grateful to be in this line of work and to be where I am today because everything that I've ever used and taught and shared with my clients, I ended up it kind of was like a mirror staring me in the face. Loving my body has been, and I grew up as an athlete and was constantly exercising and working out. So I've really had to shift the way I move my body. And it's been really challenging, but I've just had to remember on those days when I look in the mirror and there's a scar because I had a C-section and there's the little ridge above the scar, right? And I've had to just say, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I'm really lucky the team that I had for my birth. I don't know if I'm getting too far down the road with this, but I remember my midwife saying to me, I had 2 midwives because I had a home birth midwife. That was the original plan. And then we ended up having to switch back to my OB midwife combo at the hospital because my blood pressure started going up and a couple of other things went sideways.
Had different plans for you.
Yes. So my hospital midwife Julie said to me in my 6 week checkup, she was like, you have to touch your scar and you have to talk to it,
Mm,
which I don't think most OBs
yeah.
or workers in that realm are saying that to women at their
Yeah.
6 week postpartum
Yeah.
checkup. They're just sending you on your way. And
No,
she,
because it's so easy to detach from that, right? And then have blame or anger or be annoyed or whatever the feelings that come up.
yeah, and actually, I mean, even more literal is your scar feels really numb.
Mm,
Your that entire area is numb for months. I actually have friends who've had C-sections who now, like 5 years postpartum, say that their scar is still numb. And I've been sharing with them
so wild.
the knowledge that I learned through from my midwife, and also I did pelvic floor PT, and I really got so much support for myself this year, that like support, receiving. That's also been another big factor. And because of that, I've learned I press on my scar. I've brought back feeling so it's not numb anymore,
Mhm.
from a physical standpoint, but also from an emotional standpoint. There's a lot of trauma around that scar. And I want to just caveat that really quickly, because I think part of the reason I've hesitated to even share my birth story is because I know one thing that I found becoming pregnant is there's so much fear. Everyone wants to tell you their
Oh,
scary
yeah.
stories,
Yeah.
right? And and I really had to work with that. Now, my situation was different. I had chronic high blood pressure in the past, and it was probably just something that I had, we saw the writing on the wall ahead of time and we started to make the shift back to my OB. So it wasn't like an emergency, oh my God, all of a sudden the baby's coming. There were other things that happened that it ended up teaching me something really valuable, because I really wanted that home birth. I
Yeah. I
really
know.
wanted it.
I
That's where the trauma came in, not so much of like what I went through in the C-section, because the C-section was honestly really fast.
know.
Like that was the easiest part. Like,
Mind you, I remember during my birthing process and my home birth, I was like, nope, okay, I'm good with this. Let's go. Go take me to the hospital, cuff
yeah.
me in. Like, I want a different experience.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think it's really hard to process. It's such an opening experience going through birth. And so sometimes just the jolt of life coming into this world.
it's a portal that you're going through.
Yeah,
And you have no way to prepare for it or no under people could give you the exact description of what's going to happen and you still wouldn't that pre-birth version of you still wouldn't be able to compute and understand it. It's like you
yeah.
have to go through it. And then even when you do, you're just like, holy shit, what just happened?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, even from the perspective of a hypnotherapist, I did hypnobirthing and I did a lot of mental prep for it. And I think the hole in the hypnobirthing world, which is something, a need that I want to fill, is that hypnobirthing really talks about home birth is not the only way, but it's the best way to have a baby. There's just a lot of emphasis on home birth. And then I think what happens is you spend so much time trying to visualize the perfect birth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
birth is the most humbling experience. Then it can lead to feelings of despair or sadness when the vision you had doesn't
Yeah.
come true. But what I realized through my experience in going from home birth to C-section was how hypnotherapy, I mean, the whole time I was basically like in a state of trance for like 3 days.
Mhm.
And I just kept saying, 3, 2, 1, surrender. 3, 2, 1, surrender. That was my anchor. So when things got really scary, or I got nervous, or I had to, or another, they were taking another blood pressure reading, and the damn cuff, they put it on your arm and it goes off every 30 minutes without any warning.
Oh
It would
my
drive me
God.
insane. And I would just say 3, 2, 1, surrender. And I'd breathe in through my nose, long and slow out through the mouth. And I just surrendered. And I realized I was just having a conversation with Justin, my husband, for those of you who are listening. Um, Jess and I were talking last night. We had dinner after Wes went to bed and we kind of like cheersed each other, like,
Yeah.
good job, honey. We did it 1 year. And he asked me, what's the biggest thing that you learned this year? And I said that I have absolutely no control over anything. So might as well surrender. And
Parenthood in a nutshell.
yeah. And it
Yeah.
started with the birth.
Yeah.
It started with birth, but that was just the very beginning. And then the rest of this year, the only way to get through, I guess I should probably share a little bit about what I went through so people understand like why I'm talking
Yeah.
about it like this.
Yeah, I think so because I feel like the universe really wanted you to learn some lessons this year. From an energetic standpoint, the birthing process especially was like, okay, Brooke, we have some things to teach you real quick. Let's get through all this real fast and get it over with.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe it'll be helpful talking about it from a lesson perspective, and then you don't have to go into fully all the details because I know you want to
Yeah.
share it in a bigger way.
Yeah. In a future episode, I'll go into all of the details. But I think what was interesting is around 34, 35 weeks, my blood pressure started creeping up. Now, I've had chronic high blood pressure in the past when I was 31 years old, but I got it under control with lifestyle. And
Mhm.
when I was pregnant, I was doing all the things. I mean, everything:
Yes.
yoga, walking, bar class, exercise. I was drinking electrolytes. I was taking, I don't know, a million supplements. I was drinking beet juice and everything that anyone's ever told you. Well, have you tried the beet juice? Yes, Karen, I tried the beet juice. It didn't work. My blood pressure was just going up and up and up. And I don't know, you remember this because I went to this random acupuncturist and I walked in there and she looked at my hand and she looked in my mouth and she said, "You need a hospital. You can't give birth at home." And I was like so mad that this woman, like, I was like, what? And I left that acupuncturist appointment. I was like, what is this woman talking about? What is this juju? And I know, Brooke, you also had a vision that you later told me after the birth.
Awful.
But I just think the writing was on the wall, but I didn't want to surrender. I really wanted to control
There you go.
my experience.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting about that is that then at 36 and 5, I woke up in the middle of the night with a nosebleed. Like my nose was bleeding. It's coming out my nose, my mouth. I felt fine, but it was just this crazy nosebleed. And we had no other choice but to get in the car and go to the hospital, which I thought
You're
was funny
like, what
because
would make her listen to us?
yeah, the universe is like, let's
Here we
send her
go.
something that makes her go to the hospital. Now, granted, in my defense, I had already switched back to my OB. And the beauty of the team that I worked with is there was amazing continuity of care. And this is the way it should be for all women. Home birth should be an option when it's a normal, progressing, low risk birth. And then, if anything changes at any point in your health, there should be a seamless transition to your OB because it's kind of like that next level of risk. That's exactly what happened. I just am really lucky to live where I live and to have access to a home birth midwife and a hospital OB and midwife that work together.
Yes, and I know even through this chapter, even though you're describing it as like trying to grasping for control, you still were using your tools and you were very logical in your desire to control still.
Yeah. We went back to my doctor and like re-entered the practice and she was like, "Yeah, with your blood pressure, you need to be in a hospital." Um, I think at that point though, I was still like, well, if he just comes and I like take my time getting to the hospital, like maybe we could still have our home birth.
Fair.
In
Okay,
the
yeah.
back of my head, I was definitely thinking that. And that's at which point I woke up with the nosebleed situation, which, by the way, to anybody who's listening, apparently, nosebleeds are just some weird thing that can happen every once in a while. The ENT said she's seen it with pregnancies before because there's so much blood in your system.
Yeah.
I was in the hospital for 3 days while they attempted to get it to stop. And then we were all like, you know what? Let's just end this right here, right now. Let's do a C-section. And that was a choice that we made. So it wasn't like it was scary at the time. But the reason that I was able to move through all of that is
First of
because
all, how
of,
you just breathed through. My nose is bleeding for 3 days, and then we're like, okay, let's
yeah,
have a
yeah. That's literally what it was like.
That's what hypnotherapy can do for you folks.
That is what it can do because it is funny because my OB, she's amazing, Dr. Donna Ritchie. She really worked with me too and listening to my intuition. I mean, I think any other OB would have been like, let's just do the C-section now. And she was kind of like, okay, you want to breathe through this? All right, let's see. We'll try it. Afterwards, though, she came in after West was born, who he came out perfectly fine, by the way, at 37 weeks. So
And looked
perfectly
perfect.
healthy.
Most
Yeah.
perfect looking baby I've ever seen.
Yeah. He was pretty perfect. She came in and she just goes, "Well, that was real." And she said she couldn't believe how calm I was, that there was a point at which we had multiple nurses, Justin, like they were holding, I was spitting blood essentially. But I was just breathing through it. I'm like, okay, all right, and she was like, you just stayed calm through the whole thing. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm a hypnotherapist.
My
This is
job.
what I do. I have been training for this. I knew in that moment, there's nothing good that can come from panicking. That just makes it worse. And so I did have this deep-seated sense of trust. It's funny because
But
Justin's perspective was a little different. I think he was really scared. He would have switched places with me in a heartbeat.
because, like you said, you were training for that moment. You had to train and had to prepare yourself for that. You don't just get to that place where you're like, oh, this is only, it's only going to make it worse if I worry. Let me surrender. Like that is real work to be able to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. And we probably could have avoided 3 days of dealing with it just by going into a C-section, but I was really stubborn. I wanted that natural birth.
Yeah, well, and in hindsight, like it all, as
Yeah.
oh, like this perfect reminder for all of us, it always happens exactly how it's meant to.
Yeah. And I wouldn't do it any differently. I feel strong looking back because I advocated for myself and I gave myself and West the best chance at the most natural possible birth we could until it came a time that we had to pull the trigger. And, we had kind of had this great moment where my OB came in before we decided on the C-section. She let me think it was my idea. I was like, should we a C-section? She was like, might not be a bad idea, And at this point, like I love everybody on my team was like, I think, yeah. It was 11 or 10:30 at night. And I was like, do we have to wait till the morning? And she goes, well, we could wait till the morning, or we could just do it right now. And I was like, all right, let's do this. She is a legend. This woman. And do you know what I did,
She's a
Brooke, in that
legend.
moment? What I did in that moment? I got to put makeup on.
Oh, this
There's
blows
going to
my
be photos. This is
That
the Miss America
I
contestant
was gonna
coming
say
through.
yes. That's Miss Maryland right there shining through. She was like, get out of the way. I gotta look good for this. Get the
So,
blood off my face and off
yeah,
my entire body. And
they had this green tube in my nose to keep my nose stopped, and it was coming out with these two tubes. I'm gonna have to share a picture of this. These two tubes like sticking out my nose, and I was like, let me just put some powder on, some mascara real quick.
oh,
And you know what?
that
I'm so glad I did because I did look way better in those photos after that surgery because of it.
yeah, fair. I mean, there's zero chance that my brain would have gone there in the moment, but I love that version of you shining through, like you are who you are, you know?
You know what else? I knew that humor would help. I was terrified. I was scared.
Yeah.
And I knew that you can't laugh and have anxiety at the same time. They conflict with each other.
I love that. And I think this was such a moment, like your first real moment of motherhood, right? Where you're like, I'm making a decision. What's the best decision for Wes versus the emotions, the things I want to cling on to, the things that I want for myself. It was like, nope, this is just about him. What's best for him? Let's get him out.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's awesome about that too is, I went for a checkup, I guess 2 weeks postpartum, and I went in, and Lorraine at the front desk at Dr. Ritchie's was like, oh, you were the one with the no. We heard about that. I was like a total legend all
Oh,
throughout the hospital.
I'm freaking incredible. Didn't Justin also get a nosebleed at the end?
Oh, yeah, actually. So talk about mind, spirit, everyone's connected. In the operating room, at the end of the C-section, West is here. The ENT was right. As soon as the baby came out, my nose just stopped bleeding. It was like the wildest thing. As soon as West was out,
Wow.
there on the table. But Justin's nose randomly started bleeding in the operating room. And Dr. Ritchie was like, all right, that's enough of you two. Come on, get it together.
He's like, don't forget about me here. some drama too.
It was kind of wild, and you do Justin and I feel like are so connected, and that was
Yeah.
such a testament
Yeah, it's kind
to
of sweet.
that in that
It's
moment.
kind of
Like,
sweet.
he
Yeah.
doesn't get nosebleeds. I never got nosebleeds before, right? It was so weird. It was so weird. I mean, it was a light one. Okay. We were like, have a tissue, you're
Yeah.
fine.
So it was really quite the experience coming into motherhood. And then
Yeah.
as we know, as we're preparing for birth, this different version of us thinks that's the moment, right? Like that's the big thing that we're preparing for.
Right.
When you're on the other side of birth, you realize, oh shit, no, that was just a tiny, tiny piece of it. And there's now this whole journey and all these things to figure out. And
Yeah.
I want to talk about your postpartum journey. What has it been like? What are the obstacles you faced? What tools have you used? Because to me, that was one of the biggest missing pieces is understanding how to take care of myself in that postpartum journey. And damn, it could have been a lot easier had
Yeah.
had I known what I was in for,
Well, something I think the number one thing I've really learned since then is how to say yes the minute someone offers help.
Yes. Yeah.
I had a postpartum doula, Lucindy, who is a friend of mine, and I didn't even know. She kind of was like, here's what's going to happen. And I was like, okay, I don't really know what I need. So sign me up.
You don't know what
I
you
knew I
need.
was going to need something, but and we also don't have family here. They're on the East Coast and they all had booked their flights for October and he was born in August because he came 3 weeks early. She was one of the first people to really show up and like guide me through all that. But something that I will say that's just been such a huge factor in all of this is 2 weeks postpartum. I woke up and the room was spinning.
Mhm.
And I stood up to go to the bathroom, started throwing up. I had vertigo for the first time in my life. Never experienced this. We called my doctor's office and it was Labor Day weekend. And they were like, Brooke, you got to go to the ER. You need a CT scan because you're postpartum. The throwing up thing is a little concerning. So we had to take a 2-week-old to the ER. And so everything turned out fine. Well, fine. I put fine in air quotes. Nothing structurally wrong, nothing in my brain. The CT scan was normal. I may have had an infection of some sort, like a UTI or something like that. But also, we don't know if maybe the vertigo was caused by the fluid that I had in my ear from when I was having the nosebleeds. We don't know to this day. No one can tell me how it happened or why. But I proceeded to then experience some form of vertigo for almost 10 months postpartum. The spinning piece probably lasted for a few weeks. That eventually resolved, but then I just felt like I was underwater. And when I would rotate my head side to side, there was a delay. That was kind of this overlay in my postpartum journey that made it so incredibly hard. West, with sleep, he wanted to eat every 90 minutes all night long. And so for months, I was waking up like 8 times a night. And it wasn't until he was around 10 months old that we were able to get him to sleep through the night. And I was, that's a whole other conversation. We didn't want to sleep train. We didn't want to leave him to cry it out, but we also realized eventually my health was not getting any better. I needed sleep. And as a hypnotherapist prior to having kids, sleep is like my number one thing. I
Right.
mean, you will die of sleep deprivation before you'll die of starvation. A lot of people don't realize that. And I know this, but when you are a new mom, sometimes it's just not an option. And I also think as mothers, we are equipped to do this.
Yeah.
Our brain and our body changes in order for us to do this. We can function in that way. But after 10 months, I just had to start really prioritizing sleep. And I went to acupuncture. I went to 3 different physical therapists. I did chiro. I did baby and mother Reiki. That was actually probably one of the most beneficial things I did. That was a wild experience, actually. Got to get back to the Reiki
Yeah.
master. But I can't say there was one thing that just made it all go away until I was actually getting sleep. And so through that journey, what really helped me was I just had to be so gentle with myself.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was 8, I see mothers have C-sections and they're out and about with their babies like 2 weeks later, and I don't understand because
We put these expectations on ourselves. And I think when you are pregnant, you're like, oh, I can't wait to be back in control of my body the minute the baby
yes.
comes out, and you have this vision of what it's going to be like. And you're like, oh, I'll give it a few weeks. I'll start working out. I remember thinking that at least I'll have control of my body. I'll be able to sleep how I want to sleep. I won't have heartburn. I won't, but it's like,
Yeah.
there's this recovery period that has to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're prepared for that.
Yeah. And for me, because of the C-section and the infection and the vertigo, I could barely walk.
Yeah. That
I
is,
couldn't even walk around the block until 5 weeks postpartum.
yeah. That's 5 weeks is a long time to not
Yeah.
and go for a walk.
Yeah. Because walking made me dizzy. Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy? And then when I was 8 weeks postpartum, I joined one of the best decisions I ever made that I was this is like one of the tools that I would recommend for postpartum moms. I was so resistant to this. I'm like, I don't have trouble making friends. I don't need to do a mommy and me. I was really resistant to structured group support. It was the best, hands down, best decision that I made postpartum because then I instantly made a group of friends, women who are going through the same thing at the same time as me. And, but I had to be driven. I remember my in laws had to drive me to that first session because I couldn't drive. I could barely, and they had to help me get in and out because I couldn't lift the car seat.
That is, it's wild that shift. And for us to make sense, one, you're dizzy, you have vertigo, so like your brain isn't working anyway, but to have a sense of calm, to have a sense of non-reactivity, going through all of that, I've been so I've been so used to a certain lifestyle. And not to say one is better than the other, but it's a huge lifestyle shift. And especially this chapter that you're talking about of needing to ask for help, needing people to help you, needing to go out and make friends that are in this like specific niche that you were like, oh, I don't even know if I really want mom friends. I already have my
Yeah.
friends. Like it's it's just a very, very different energy. And it literally is overnight. It's overnight
Yeah. You know,
shifts.
one thing I've learned this year is about matrescence. Ever
Oh
heard
yeah.
this word? But matrescence, how it happens. It's not like you just wake up and you're a mom when the baby's born. Matrescence is the process of becoming the mother.
Yes.
And I think, you know, to share some of the tools, I mean, I had a postpartum dual that was amazing. I had a postpartum therapist. I talked with her once a month. She was incredible to kind of normalize the feelings I was going through. I absolutely experienced postpartum anxiety. Looking back, I didn't know what it was at the time. I think that's part of the reason why I wasn't sleeping.
I think everyone does. And
Yeah.
they give it this sweet little name, the baby blues. Like there's nothing more
Yeah.
annoying actually than hearing that
Yeah.
term once you've been through it. And it's like,
Yeah.
who doesn't have like a difficult postpartum journey where
Yeah.
hormones are shifting? Like even if you don't have any of these different weird physical symptoms or any big obstacles, especially with your first, like you said, you are becoming a mother, a whole new role. That's the most important role of your life. That's very different than anything you've ever done. No
Yeah.
one close to you, like you feel very alone. Even though you have your mom group, you have your husband, no one is going through it the way you are. That was one of the
Yeah.
things for me was that.
Yeah, it's an isolating feeling. But too, to your point about baby blues and postpartum anxiety, the thing is I talk about this kind of with a lightness. And this is one of the things I do with my clients, right? How to ride the wave of emotions, how to allow those emotions to move through you. So to me, postpartum anxiety is not a bad thing or a red flag. It's quite normal for the postpartum brain to be lit up like a Christmas tree hyper vigilant to make sure your baby is kept alive. That's all
Mhm.
it is.
I love that perspective. Yeah.
Now, granted, I look back and I'm like, oh, there's definitely some disordered things about it, right? But that's okay. I allowed it to run through its course and I was open about it and I got support and I talked with my husband about it and I talked with my therapist about it. And so it was never an issue. When I say disordered, this is one of the things I look back. Someone had told me
I
once
remember
that
you telling me
water mixing with milk, the viscosity is lethal to a baby if there's too much water. And so then I had this full on paralyzation about how to clean the bottles because there are drops of water on the bottle in the bottle, and I was going to kill my baby. It's like so. And then some other things. I definitely think that I was anxiety pumping at one point. Like I was pumping,
that.
I pumped so much milk. I had hundreds of bags of milk in my freezer. And I think that was because when we went to the ER, there wasn't any milk in the freezer. So then I was like, well, that's never going to happen again. So I basically pumped like I was feeding two children. So I probably depleted myself of nutrients. Didn't realize that was weird. It's also because my sister, this is big sisters, but she was all like, oh, that's all you have? You're only pumping 8 ounces as if it was a competition.
And then the younger sister, competitive
Yeah.
younger. Well, I don't know if you had this, but I had these illogical visions of me like hitting Bowie's head into the corner of the wall or
Yes.
falling down the stairs with her, like just like pure madness to where I was would like shuffle my feet so that I couldn't.
Falling down the stairs was a big one for me, which is funny because we don't even have stairs in our house.
It, it, a lot of irrational,
Yeah.
illogical things happen when, your hormones are going wild. And like you said, you are in that mom protective state and it's a new state. Like
Yeah.
you
Well, and again, being in the line of work that I do, I'm just so grateful because I know when I had those thoughts, it didn't occur to me right away because I think it is like an overwhelming time when you're in it. But when I was at my postpartum visit, my hospital midwife, Julie, said to me, so here's what an intrusive thought is. It's
Mm.
when you imagine your baby falling down the stairs or you dropping your baby down the stairs. It's basically like a thought that's probably not really going to happen, but your brain will do that. That's an intrusive thought. And I was like, oh, the minute she said that, because I understand how to separate myself from my thoughts, I was just like, oh, I'm all set. Cool. Got it. It just clicked for me because I already know how my brain works. So to me, that stuff was like, oh, there's an intrusive thought. Or like Justin was really worried about us like walking him in the stroller on our hills. So we got one of those wristband things that connects to the stroller. But even then, he would only walk on the flat streets. And I was like, honey, I think that actually might be an irrational anxiety because men get
Oh yeah.
postpartum anxiety
Oh,
too.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Dennis, it
It's
was
another
like,
thing that's not talked about.
yeah, it was like 2 months in when Dennis and I both came to each other and were like, hey, I'm having these thoughts. And he's like, oh my God, I am too. Like I keep
Yeah.
thinking I'm gonna hit her head on things. And
Yeah.
yeah, well, I love hearing, like going through your story from this perspective with you because I witnessed it all, of course, as a friend and hopefully was a suitable outlet as your friend. And I saw the hard parts, right? And my heart broke for those things. And like, especially the vertigo and that being added to what I already knew was even in the best case scenario, a difficult postpartum journey. So I love and I'm so grateful and I think it's so beautiful that you had all of these tools that even though you went through those things it was like you could get yourself out of it or you went through it in with as much ease and grace as you could because you had these tools and I know that a lot of this you had a lot of time to think about how you could help others in their postpartum journey in their journey of motherhood in their journey of life and you've created something new to share with everyone. So I want to take a minute to talk with that. I do also want to honor our or bring up our guest of honor who has joined us, the birthday boy himself, Little West.
Yes. Yes, the guest of honor has joined us. Sir Weston is here. He's just chilling. So, I wanted to create something that I wish I had. And one of the things that really worked for me is being able to utilize hypnosis to take quick naps, to get rest when I need to, or to be able to fall back to sleep quickly. Because I was waking up multiple times a night, let's say 4 or 5 times a night. So, what became the most valuable skill was to be able to just go right back to sleep. Also, I was so tired of people telling me, just sleep when the baby sleeps, right? You know how that was. The baby goes to sleep, and then you're laying there and you're like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Da, 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 da. There's a million things you feel like you need to be doing. So I created Mom Flow Hypno, which is a hypnosis kit. It's 3 tracks and a bonus breath work. Super simple, plug and play. What I really missed in those moments was to be able to just play something that'll lull me back to sleep. And the big thing for me is not only having the perfect nap, which is one of the tracks I put on there, but also trusting my intuition. You know, we talk about matrescence and really owning your intuition because
I
as a
did that one last
mother,
night, by the way. I was having some intrusive thoughts before bed, and I was like, I know what I need to do. And I laid down in my bed and did that session, and it was so good. It was so beautiful. I love the
Mhm.
language. I mean, first of all, let me fangirl for a moment. Your voice is made for this. It's just so calming and so good. And I will tell you, I had the best night of sleep that I've had in a long time.
That's so, I tell you, it works.
Yeah.
Non-sleep deep rest to start that process helps your brain and body move into that deep restorative state. I mean, it shows on you have an aura ring, right?
Yeah. I actually quit using it because I cured myself.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I've
I
seen
think
on my aura ring, it's been really interesting to track sleep with hypnosis.
I
And
think
that's one
Aura
of the
Ring is really helpful for the postpartum journey, just to know where you're at and help work toward goals for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And then there's a mom rage track, Calm the Rage. One thing that a girlfriend said to me that I didn't know was a thing in postpartum, I called her and I was like, I'm just feeling really like kind of angsty, a little annoyed. My girlfriend said to me, oh, yeah, the mom rage is real. It's
Mhm.
real. And that was the point at which I realized, oh, this is an actual experience that so many moms the brain actually experiences rage. And then I started going down a rabbit hole and reading about it. And so that's why I put that track on there because I wanted there to be an instant, what can I do in this moment?
Mhm.
Um, but also, it's just for all emotions in general. How can I process and move through these emotions and allow them to be here? Rage is not, it's not a bad thing. It's just a signal.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And the ability to recognize and honor it and be like, okay, this isn't a negative. It's just something I need to dig into and work with.
Yeah, it's a signal that I need to maybe take care of myself. I need to take some space. There's a need that's not getting met.
Yeah. These short hypno sessions will help immediately, but the more you do it, it's actually rewiring your subconscious and your behaviors. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes. So, especially with repetition, but when you get into alpha theta brainwave state, that space between awake and asleep. And when you're in that state, we're in a really receptive mode because the critical filter of our mind is asleep, essentially. So, you
Mhm.
might be consciously awake, but you're in a state of calm, focused attention. Your brain is like a little sponge. So when we listen to these tracks that we use imagery to kind of shift and take a new perspective, and there's a lot of affirmations in there. There's a lot of suggestions for change. Some of it's kind of embedded. You don't really notice it until you might listen the third time and you're like, oh, I didn't hear that the first time. That's where the subconscious change starts to come in. And I wanted this to be accessible. I wanted to create a product that was $39. It's a hell yes. And it's delivered via private podcast. So once you subscribe, you don't have to log in. It's right there on your phone. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcast, or whatever podcast player you listen to. It's not about adding more work. It is not a course. No more
Yes.
courses, not for moms.
Really created by a mom. This is the most mom thing
Yeah.
that could ever be created. Accessible, easy, quick, like you can do it on repeat. I love it. You're back. The podcast is back. You're back. I know
Yes.
you've been working, but
Yeah.
what does this next chapter of your career, the podcast, all of it, what does it
Yeah.
do?
So I have been seeing clients since about 2 months postpartum, but I'm going to be opening up more space for clients as little guy here goes off to school. I'm really excited about working with more women who are, whether they're a mom or they're thinking about becoming a mom in the future, but they might
Hmm.
be juggling all of those things, right? I'm excited to be able to work with more mothers. We need practices for our brains.
Hmm.
The brain fog, the vertigo, and the emotional aspect of it. How can I work through all of that to feel like, not myself who I was before, but a new version of myself, a better version of myself.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn because this is your expertise, but I think that the chemical makeup of your brain literally changes when you have a baby, right? So like how could
Yeah.
you not need support and coaching through your brain changing?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a scary thing if you understand what's happening and you understand how to work with it.
Yes. Yes. I love that. One last question for you.
Mhm.
What's what do you say to someone? What advice do you give? What words of encouragement do you give to maybe it's yourself or the woman who is, on the cusp of walking through that portal. They're on the other side, they're pregnant, they're thinking about having a baby. They don't necessarily know what they're in for. What's the advice that you share?
Trust and just one foot in front of the other, keep moving forward because it's the best decision I ever made.
Yes.
Despite everything that I've shared here today, I'm definitely going to do it again. Just so you know. That's what's wild is like, I am totally doing this again. So trust and surrender, right? That's my other word. 3, 2, 1, surrender.
I love that. You're doing an incredible job, my friend. Your journey is such a gift to all of us. You being able to share this wisdom and create these tools, I can't imagine how many women it's going to help. So, very grateful for that. And everyone, from someone who has experienced it and has experienced sessions with Brooke, Mom Flow Hypno, definitely check it out. It is a no-brainer.
If you've been stuck in anxious thoughts, overwhelmed, or just feeling like your nervous system can't catch a break, I can help. Click the link below to book a free one-on-one consultation and let's uncover what's really holding you back. And if you're craving simple, calm on demand, grab Mom Flow Hypno for just $39 below. Instant reset right in your pocket. Until next time, remember, your calm is closer than you think.